How you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we're taking a look at Eerie magazine. This is issue number 2, 35 cents, collector's edition. Look at this wonderful cover by Frank Frazetta. Frank Frazetta, the legend, the legendary painter. He did that Conan painting that everybody knows. He's just an awe-inspiring creator in the field. I've met a few comic book artists that would said that they hung out with Frank Frazetta and they were just awestruck. But I love this. This wizard is just summoning up this creature with this book. It's just, I mean, the whole sword and sorcery. You can't visualize it without paying homage to Frank Frazetta. And this is a strange comic for me. Well, it's a magazine, but it's a comic magazine because I bought this a few years ago and I never read it because the anal retentive in me would not let me read issue number 2 without reading issue number 1. And I was looking online, I was trying to, and I just never found it. I'm like, wow, this has got to be the hardest comic for me to ever find. Why can't I find it? Well, you know what the answer is? It doesn't exist. I got a photocopy fold up of what they used, but they wanted to make it a magazine called Eerie. And the rumor has it that somebody else was going to rush out a comic or magazine called Eerie. So they just made like a photocopied some old stories, put it together, and then put it into the copyright office to secure the name. But it was never really released. And supposedly there's like 800 copies of this photocopied ash can that exists. So I went and I've since found for $12, so you know it's not real, a photocopy of the photocopy. So I got that so I could read it. Big deal. And then I finally sat down and read my collection of Eerie. But what a jerk I was. I could have read this years earlier instead of a couple months ago. But let's take a look at Eerie. I purposely I've said this before, but I've never read these Marvel. This is by Warren Publications, but Marvel made them also, like Heavy Metal and Epic and Savage Sword of Court. I never read these as a kid. I don't know why. I was into superhero comics as a kid, so this was. Plus, it was kind of like your parents didn't want you to get this either. So I never read these until I was a full-fledged adult. So this is like the Crypt Keeper. This was like this is Cousin Eerie, and he is like the host of the comic, and this is like, I guess, Uncle Creepy, who hosts Creepy magazine, and this is Eerie, published bi-monthly by Warren Publications, number 2, 35 cents. This is 1966. And this is in really good condition, except for this little, bought December 30th, 1965. I don't know how he bought it before it came out, but maybe 66 was the, they put it ahead of time. Whatever, I don't know. Editor, Archie Goodwin. Archie Goodwin is a legend among comic book editors. Just a guy supposedly he was one of the nicest guys in comics. And supposedly he took a lot of risks. He recognized talent. He rewarded talent. He was just, a well-regarded legend. Cover Frank Frazetta. What can I say about Frank Frazetta? Just you know him, even if you're not into comics. Lettering, Ben, I don't know him. But here's the stuff. Gene Colan. Oh, my God. Reed Campbell. Jack Davis. Frank Frazetta. Gray Morrow. Joe Orlando. John Severin. JTC, Angelo Torres, Alex. This is like a who's who of living legends among comic book artists. Oh my God, this is like a pantheon. These guys, started in the 40s. They went through EC Comics, just pumping out masterpieces. And I'm not going to go through every story. I don't want to ruin it. It's like going through the Twilight Zone and telling you the twist. But just look at this. Okay, so this is art by Reed Crandall, script by Archie Goodwin. Just look at this draftsmanship. Look at that. You don't get stuff like this anymore. Look, oh man, I mean I don't want to go through the story, but I'm just going look at that panel. Oh man. These faces, you recognize these faces. You recognize the poses, the anatomy, everything about it. This is just a master at the top of his game. And of course, it's a little cliche. He's in some Eastern Germanic town and they're making a Frankenstein monster. the man scientist, talking to, this is the guy he trained when he was a college professor years ago. He was his student. Now he's at the end of his career and he's going to visit his, and he's talking about, I pulled a body out and I experimented on it and I'm trying to bring it back to life. Of course, it looks like a Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster. This is a blatant ripoff. And I don't want to go into the story, but I'm mad at myself for not reading these earlier because, I'm really into H.P. Lovecraft. And these stories are very like Lovecraftian, a word that I hate to use because it's so overused and misunderstood term. Anything you throw a tentacle in it, it's Lovecraftian. But I that's not. Don't get me started. But here, this guy finds out that it'll work. They make the twist here, and I don't want to ruin it. Is, I guess I'm going to, is the old man is dying, and he helps him put his brain into the golem body, the Frankenstein body. So now he is the monster. Literally, the monster and the scientist are one in this particular story. So there you go. And I'll skip the next page because why ruin it? But here is one for the money. One for the money. Angelo Torres, script by E. Nelson Bridwell. E. Nelson Bridwell is a famous science fiction writer who became an editor over at DC Comics and did a lot of it was almost like a game to him. He would come up with like a concept for a crazy cover, and then the writer would be challenged with having the cover make sense. That's one of the reasons why I never liked DC. It was always just like gimmicky and puzzly and stuff like that rather than character driven, and Marvel came along and changed that, and that's why I guess I was more of a Marvel guy. So look at this. This guy, he's destitute. He's a rich guy, and he's spending all his money. So now he's living with his rich uncle. His rich uncle is a wizard, summoning these monsters. And there's a cousin Eerie. And he sees that the monster gives him money. Yeah, there it is. He showers him with gold coin, and that's how the old guy makes his money. But part of the demonic curse is he's a tightwad. He doesn't want to spend it. So this guy's like, my uncle won't give me any of his money. I'm destitute. I like living a certain way, so I gotta do it naturally. In these gothic horrors, is I gotta off the old man. So he does what anybody does, is he pushes him down the stairs. So they don't actually show him pushing him down the stairs, but goodbye, Uncle Cornelius. You see, there he is in his shadow. And he murders him, and now he's throwing him into the pentagram. Or now he's dragging him down and summoning the demon, Uliet. That's a pretty cool demon name. And, of course, the demon comes and murders him because when he was dragging the body into the pentagram, he erased some of the lines. Ta-da! He's not an experienced wizard. Here we have JTC art, and notice they're putting the art first, and then the writer Archie Goodman. So he didn't just look at these drawings, amazing, just so good. And I don't want to go through. I feel like I'm ruining, but this poor guy lost his wife. He can't live without her. She's the love of his life. He's a rich guy, but what good is being rich when your beautiful wife is gone? He's lonely, so he tracks down people and he finds a wizard who will bring back his wife. Look at that drawing. Look at her. Just look. It's great. And of course, people are like revolted. They're running away from the house because she really looks like. Where is it? She really looks like that. Only he sees her as the beautiful. She's really a walking corpse. Ta-da! Right after I said I don't want to ruin these stories. The Flame Fiend. To me, this was the weakest of the stories, but I love Gray Morrow's art. I showcased a story with Gray Morrow in the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So Gray Morrow, one of the original. Look, guy. He paid to have his partner killed in a firebomb in his car. So now his murder victim is like, I'm going to burn you to death. So he's like, and is it a psychosomatic or is it real? We don't know. So every time he sees fire, he imagines that it's his murder victim coming back to kill him. So he develops this phobia of fire, and he won't go anywhere where there's a fire. He won't go to restaurants where there's flambe. He won't go to barbecues. There's a birthday cake, and he freaks out. So he goes out hunting because there's no fire out here, and of course there's a forest fire, and he dies in the forest fire. Actually, no, he jumps into the lake. You won't get me, you won't get me, you won't get me. And he dies burning up from a fever. Ta-da! I'm not going to spoil it, then I do. I like this little werewolf, and this is art by John Severin. And his wife was Marie Severin that did the, what artwork was that? For the Kazar comic. Look at that. Just amazing. Just amazing. It looks, it looks like those old movies. And here we have Gene Collin and Larry Ivy doing the artwork to pay the piper. And this is the Pied Piper of Hamelin retold. Vampires are killing everybody, so the piper leads all the vampires out. They don't pay him. He leads the children out. The children nick themselves on wolfsbane and come back as werewolves. Ta-da! The Vision of Evil. This, to me, is kind of a rip-off of Pickman's Model by H.P. Lovecraft. And this is art by Alex Toth, script by Archie Gilbert. Alex Toth. Amazing. Space Ghost. He did a lot of those. I think he did Hanna-Barbera cartoons, Johnny Quest and stuff like that. And, of course, art. Look, so we got to get this guy. Where, art is not a bad guy. Keep in mind, these aren't bad people. These are just art guys. And just like, look at this art. The artist is reclusive. We got to find this guy. Give him a deal. Let's make him rich. Where is he? So they find out the guy lives in an insane asylum. And the doctor's like, yeah, it's the only time he's actually we could communicate with him when he's doing his artwork. So let's leave the poor guy alone and let him do his artwork. And they're like, all right, but he could be a billionaire if whatever. And they're like, all right, well, let's go talk to him. Maybe this will shake him. So keep in mind, this is like a little different because everybody wants his best interest. This isn't like people taking advantage of a poor crazy guy. They actually want to help him. And in the painting, they see like monsters and everything like that. And so now he's running, and he says, "This is my last painting." And they're like, "What do you mean last painting? Well, oh my God, what's going on?" And I skipped the actual painting. So here we have, this is my last painting. Look, there's the artist. This is the monster killing me. And he's like, here's another painting of it's like the inmates fighting stuff. And oh my God. So is the monster, as he's grabbing him, he's grabbing them, and they die. So poor people, they weren't even evil, and they were taken away and killed. To me, this Joe Orlando, this guy goes on to do a lot for DC Comics, script by Archie Goodwin. This is the weakest story of the batch. The head of the game, Hunter goes to Africa. He finds an ivory ape, the rare ivory ape, and they kill it, and all the locals are like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that." And the ape head stinks, and his wife's like, "You better get rid of that. It's smelling." And, people are found dead who are watching it, like, what's going on? So this guy goes out, the gardener goes out, like, there's something out there, and he gets murdered, and the wife's like, "I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here." Between that stink and people dying, I'm leaving. And what happens? The headless ape followed the stench, and he can't wash the smell out, so it kills him and then puts his head up there. Ta-da! And it goes on like that. I love this. You could get up 8mm movies. So $34.95 for 1.5 hour or 1.25 hours of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. So this is like video files. This is what they did back then, But this is $34 in 1966. So this ain't cheap. Buy it. I love these, though. There must have been people who just sat and watched these silent movies in the comforts of their own home. Collect that. I wonder whatever happened to all this. Blazing Combat. This is another magazine. Movies. Movie projectors. The Beast of Five. So this is how you got these movies back then. You didn't go to video store. There was no Netflix. There was no, you bought them and you watched them in your own video projector. How cool is that? Back issues are creepy. Look at these ads. Monster kits, a human skull, a skull cup. This is pretty cool. Miniature cannons, $5, and you can load it and it shoots stuff. $10. That is so cool. They don't make toys like that anymore. That is so cool. Real rocket, $1, and you can fire it. 150-piece army set, 2 complete armies of 75 men each. I wonder if they're little plastic men or are they chits or whatever. That's pretty cool. Silent dog whistle by an ant farm. I know I'm spending a long time on these ads, but how cool is that? Monster face, moving life monster masks. That's pretty cool. I'm saying the word cool a lot, but what do you want me to say? Horrible Harmon dares you to try to look in the box. So you get a mystery box. A foot, monster hand, a human skeleton. Order of Venus flytrap. It actually eats insects and bits of meat. Flies, rubber bat, giant 10-foot rubber snake. So cool, all this stuff. Collection of movies. Get these, buy these movies. The Blob with Steve McQueen. So these are like real movies. The Werewolf, Dinosaurus. 99-cent Mummy Chariot. I'm your Beast Girlfriend. What is this? Oh, 6 issues of Monster World. Hollywood Masks. And then a subscription to Eerie. And here's the back cover. So here you go. That's Eerie. And over here's Eerie number 3. So that's Eerie, horror magazine. And again, I didn't read this stuff when I was a kid. I didn't particularly care for horror. I was told not to read these magazines because they were for adults. So I listened to my parents. I'm not a bad kid. So there you go. I stayed away. Plus, I was more into superheroes. I wanted to see what the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man would do, and then this wizard. I was not interested in that stuff. It's not even until recently that I got into like sword and sorcery stuff, and it wasn't, well, in the 80s I got into some horror stuff with Bruce Jones' Twisted Tales, but that was like the exception rather than the rule. So there you go. I bought a big stack of Eerie comics, and now I'm finally sitting down to read them all because, like a jerk, I was trying to hunt down the first issue that didn't exist, and I didn't know that. And maybe now I could save you some time and effort. So there you go. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to listen to me ramble on and on and on about 40, 50-year-old magazines and comics. Thank you so much, guys. Merry Christmas.